He watched from the car, a silent observer, to his own destruction. The man, tall and annoyingly handsome, leaned in his hand, cupping her face, and then it happened a kiss. Not a quick peck, but a lingering, passionate kiss that spoke of stolen moments and whispered promises. His wife, his CLA, pulled away, a smile playing on her lips as she turned and walked towards their home, her blonde hair shimmering in the afternoon sun, oblivious to the day vast she left in her wake, his heart hammered against. His ribs a frantic drumbeat against the silence of the car. He gripped the steering wheel. Knuckles white, his mind a whirlwind of disbelief and rage. This wasn't happening, couldn't be CLA with her infectious laugh, and her gentle touch wouldn't do this to him. Not to them. They had built a life together, a life filled with laughter and love. Or so he thought. The drive home was a blur. He couldn't remember unlocking the front door. Couldn't remember hanging up his coat. He moved through the house like a ghost, his limbs heavy, his movements mechanical. The house, once their sanctuary, now felt like a prison, its walls closing in on him, suffocating him with the weight of her betrayal. He found her in the kitchen, humming softly to herself as she prepared dinner. She looked up as he entered, her smile widening when she saw him. "You're back early," she said, her voice cheerful, oblivious to the storm raging inside him. He wanted to scream, to lash out, to demand answers, but the words wouldn't come. He simply stood there, his silence heavy with accusation. Her smile faltered, replaced by a look of concern. "Is everything all right?" she asked. "Everything's fine." He managed to choke out, his voice a raspy whisper. He spent the next few days in a haze of anger and despair. He barely slept, barely ate. The image of the kiss played on a continuous loop in his mind, a constant reminder of her betrayal. He watched her, studied her, trying to find some sign of guilt, some flicker of remorse. But there was nothing. She went about her days as if nothing had changed her. Smiles as bright, her laughter as carefree as ever. The lack of remorse fueled his anger, transforming it into a cold, hard determination. He would not be made a fool of. He would not let her get away with this. An idea began to take shape in his mind, a plan for revenge, a plan to ensure that she would never hurt him again. He started subtly changing his routines, making excuses for being away from home for longer periods. He told CLA he was working late, attending conferences, anything to explain his absence. She didn't seem to notice, or if she did, she didn't let on. Her indifference fueled his resolve. He began researching, spending hours online, his fingers flying across the keyboard, his eyes scanning the screen. He started small, siphoning money from there. Joint account, a few hundred here, 1,000 there. He was careful, meticulous, never taking enough to raise suspicion. He opened a new bank account in a different state under a different name. He rented a small apartment, a nondescript studio in a quiet part of town. Far from their suburban life, he began moving things, a few clothes at a time, a box of books, a lamp. He told CLA he was donating them to charity, getting rid of clutter. She nodded her attention, focused on her phone. Her disinterest, palpable. He felt a surge of satisfaction, a twisted sense of victory. He quit his job, staging a dramatic scene in his boss's office, complete with a shouted resignation and a slammed door. He told CLA he was burned out, needed a change of pace. She seemed almost relieved, happy to have him out of her hair. With each passing day, his old life faded, replaced by a new anonymous existence. The day he had been waiting for finally arrived. He woke up in his Spartan studio, the morning light filtering. Through the blinds, he felt a surge of anticipation, a thrill of excitement coursing through his veins. Today was the day he would execute the final stage of his plan. He went through the motions, mechanically showering, shaving, dressing. He ate breakfast. At a greasy spoon down the street, his mind already racing ahead to the evening he spent the day walking, putting mile after mile between himself and his old life. As dusk settled, he made his way to a bar near his old house, a place he and Claire used to frequent in their early days of dating. He sat at the bar nursing a beer, watching the door. He didn't have to wait long. CLA walked in her arm, linked with the man from the park. He watched them as they laughed and talked, their heads close. Together, their body language screaming their intimacy. He felt a pang of jealousy, a flicker of the old pain, but it was quickly replaced by a cold satisfaction, all according to plan. He called the police the next morning, his voice trembling with feigned concern. He reported CLA missing, describing her appearance, mentioning the man she had been with. He told them about her recent strange behavior, her lack of communication, her sudden disappearances. He laid it on thick, the concerned husband, desperate for his wife's safe return. The police investigated, of course, but they found nothing. Claire's disappearance remained a mystery. Another missing person case in a city of millions. He watched the news reports, saw his own face on television. His heart heavy with a mixture of guilt and relief. He maintained his new life, his new identity. He found a job, a simple, anonymous job that paid the bills he kept to himself, avoiding relationships, shunning intimacy. He carried the memory of CLA. With him, a constant reminder of what he had lost, what he had done.